Today I am going to explain a movie called Deadly Illusions. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. Movie is started and we can see our main character Mary. Mary was a famous writer, but it's been years since she had written something. The reason behind it is to give time to her family. Her family includes her husband, a daughter and a son. She thinks she become a different person whenever she writes, and that's why she is reluctant to write. But one day some people from her publishing came to meet her. They arrange a meeting with a different reason. In the meeting, they told her to write another book for them and they give her an offer. Mary disregarded their offer, become offended and walk out from there. Before leaving, a woman from publishing house told Mary that she is forgetting her struggles and all the luxuries she had are just because of them. Mary become offended, but this time she ignored. Mary's husband named Tom arrived home and saw the offer, which was of $2 million. Mary didn't earn so much money from writing all her books, so he was very surprised. He told Mary to seriously consider this offer. He wants to tell something to her but was reluctant. Finally, at night he told her that half of their savings were wasted by him. These savings are for their retirement. Mary became very disturbed and now she had to write book because she didn't have any other option. Next day, Mary was in the spa with her friend Elaine. She told Elaine about all her problem. She is worried about her children, and that whenever she writes she become a different person and most probably she will be unable to take care of her children properly. Elaine advises her to hire a caretaker for them. Mary started taking interviews of different girls. Many candidates come and go. At last a candidate named Grace arrived. Mary noticed that Grace is reading when she left the place to make coffee. She liked it very much and thought Grace reading will develop this interest in her children too. Then they discuss books. In the meantime, children also arrive. Grace talked to them nicely. Grace saw Mary's book in the house. She became very excited that she was in an actual writer's home. Upon seeing all this, Mary hired her. One day children were insisting to play in swimming pool, but Grace didn't bring her swimsuit. Mary gave Grace her old swimsuit. Mary's friend Elaine was also there. She told her to be careful from Grace. There can be anything between your husband and Grace. Mary perceived Grace as an innocent girl and can't think that she can do anything like this. Grace was looking after children at night. Mary and her husband become intimate. Before Grace, they have very less time to spend with each other because of the children. They were very happy with Grace. Next day, Mary has started writing for her book. One day Mary had an injury on her foot, so Grace was helping her. In the meanwhile, Mary had a glimpse of her innerwear. Mary says to go for shopping for her. She was in the changing room with Grace. After seeing Grace's body, Mary feels that when she was young she had the same body and she started to miss her young body. Grace took the Mary's hands and placed on herself and said, "I did this so that you can feel it." She was clearly flirting with her. Mary discusses her insecurity about her body with Tom and asks him that whether she should go for plastic surgery, but Tom says there is no need of doing anything like this. You are the same beautiful as you were before. I like your mind, your intelligence, and all these things in you. Mary was very confused about the characters of her book. She couldn't decide what type of characters she should have. Upon thinking about this, she notices Grace in the house and bases the character on her. One day some people from her publishing house came to meet her and was giving ideas about her book, but Grace was constantly hanging on Mary's mind. Next day Mary talks to her friend Elaine that first she used to think of Grace differently, but now she is very attracted towards her. She doesn't think of her like that at first. Elaine said that the energy you are feeling, you can use it in your writings. Mary and Tom were very happy with the Grace and thinking of hiring her full-time. One night they both went for a party where Elaine's husband says to Mary that her fourth book was very good and you should write something like that. Mary replies that when she wrote that book she was in a dark place of her life and she didn't want to go back to that place. Elaine's husband says that might be it is the same darkness makes a writer an artist. Next day Mary was hanging around her swimming pool. She says Grace to massage her. She felt very good and jumped into the swimming pool and asked the Grace to come close to her. And they both were enjoying, and after coming out they both get drunk. Grace says to Mary that she never felt the feeling of having a family, but she feels good in her company. Mary also supports her and says that because of her she could write something. When Mary woke up she saw that she was sleeping with Grace and thought they got intimidated with each other. When Mary used to write she was unable to distinguish between real and unreal, so she was not sure that either she got intimated with Grace or not. Next day everybody went to see the play of The Children of Mary, and here Mary talked to Grace that whatever happened yesterday should never happen again and we will never discuss it, but Grace says nothing happened yesterday. But Mary considered that Grace understood her. Mary still can't stop thinking about Grace. One day while taking bath she imagines that Grace come close to her and pleases her. Mary was overloaded with the work of her book so that children can't disturb Mary. Tom took children and Grace out for lunch. Elaine notices this and thinks that there might be an affair going between Tom and Grace. Tom feels something different in Grace while doing lunch as usually. She is very shy, but today she seems very confident. She was intentionally trying to please the Tom and it was working. Tom says to her that you are looking very different today, like a grown-up woman. Finally, Mary had completed her book and to celebrate it she takes Grace to a lake with her. There they celebrate with drinking. Grace started to kiss Mary but she stops her and says that this is very wrong and whenever I see you I feel myself and you are so perfect and we can't do this. When they came back to their bicycles for going home, someone punctured their tire so they both reach home late and saw that Elaine and Tom were talking. Mary asks Elaine what she is doing here, then Elaine says that she thinks Grace and Tom had an affair and she is here to talk about this, but Mary has seen Tom and Elaine together before so she started to suspect Elaine. Elaine get offended and says that she is her best friend and she can never think of doing anything like this to her, and after that she left. While preparing for the dinner Grace and Mary were together and Grace started to please her. Tom reaches there but he couldn't see anything. Mary was feeling sleepy so she went to sleep early. In the mid of night, she heard some noise and when she woke up to see, she saw Tom and Grace are getting intimidated with each other. Grace notices this but he says to Tom that she took sleeping pills so when she will wake up in morning she will not remember anything. But on waking up, Mary remembers everything and she sees Grace doing dinner with her family which make her feel very angry. She kicked out Grace and fight with Tom at night that she has sacrificed everything for this family and even left her career, and in return what she got back that you are cheating on me. Tom says nothing happened, it is just only your dream. Next day Mary called that agency from where she appointed the Grace but she come to know that no girl with name Grace works there. Mary gets very suspicious and to find more information about Grace she started to search the book Grace was reading. She inquired about that from library and she find out that no one else has borrowed that book from library and now she knows about her real name. Now, she was sure that there is something wrong about Grace and to discuss about this she went to Elaine. But directly we can see that Elaine has been murdered. Mary called police but Mary becomes the prime suspect of the police because there were fingerprints of Mary on the knife which was used to murder Elaine. On CCTV camera there was a girl with the same dress up as Mary but Mary says that it can be anyone. To save her, Tom reaches there with a lawyer but now Mary thinks that all these things are done by the Grace because last night Elaine doubted her. Mary has the real address of Grace and she directly arrives at her home where she meets her foster mother. Her foster mother says when she was a child she was abused by her real parents for which they were sentenced to jail too. Mary notices that this woman is talking in different voices. It means she has a split personality disorder. After watching this Mary come out from there quickly and called Tom that he should stop Grace from coming home because she is very dangerous, but she was already at home. When Tom was in shower, Grace comes close to her by wearing clothes like Mary. It means she murdered Elaine and now she wanted to get intimidated with Tom but Tom says to her that he doesn't want to play games with her anymore. It was his mistake to be with her because she seduced him. After listening this, Grace gets very offended and attacked him many times with knife. She would have killed him but Mary reaches there so Grace quickly changes her clothes and come in front of Mary. Mary asked her about Tom so she says that he is taking shower so you shouldn't go there. Mary feels it's suspicious and when she gets there she saw Tom bleeding. Grace took the knife again in her hands but she was trying to control herself and talking in two different voices. Grace also has two different personalities. To protect herself she has developed a dangerous personality of herself. One personality of her is saying that she should kill both of them but the real Grace was trying to stop her. Grace wanted to convert herself into the fit girl again, but her other personality doesn't allow her to do it. She attacked on Mary. Grace's second personality said, "You started to love Mary, so that's why you wanted to kill me." This evil personality took all the control and was going to kill Mary, but Mary made her unconscious by attacking on her head. In the movie, after that 1 year has been passed, Mary has completed her book and we can see her very happy with her family. In the end scene of movie, she went to meet Grace. Mary has admitted her to the hospital and helping her to get better. The actual personality of Grace was very good, and to save this, Mary is helping her. They both are very good friends of each other now. With this movie ends.